DPW.
Just fine, Kathy.
All right, I got 9 o'clock. I'd like to call the May 19th County Commission Committee to order. Pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Phil, you're up.
All righty. Thank you for taking time out to meet with me today. Had the results of the RFP and the contracts for the CCAO electric pools for the facilities, county's facilities. Again, Phil Deister from Palmer Energy, independent consultant for the CCAO energy program. As you may well remember, I visited a couple months ago talking about we were going out for the RFP, and we received the pricing back. The contracts were actually signed on March 26th, so these are in effect. We won't see, for the county, you won't see that change until June's billing month. So it started in May, but that cycle is shown on the billing month for next month in June there. Basically, it was broken down into 3 groups, and those groups were separated by usage, and that's kind of explained in that second box here on the RFP results there. Of the 32 accounts that Ross County has in the program, 31 of them will be in that group 1, and then the jail is in group 2 there. And so, kind of just a couple of things to point out. That first group there, if you remember previously when we did the contracts, the pricing was all inclusive, so everything was included. It was a fixed rate, and that's what the rate was. Group 1 is going back to that all-inclusive pricing, so we got it back at a 8.046 cents. Obviously, quite a bit higher than the previous contract, but that's unfortunately everybody's seeing increases. The good news is if you take a look at AEP's price to compare, which is what the facilities would be with if they weren't in contract and directly with the utility, that price came back at over 9.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So still seeing pretty good savings there. And I believe I mentioned before, we're not going to see those great savings that we saw the last couple of years. We just, that the market's caught up to where everything's kind of up with the suppliers as well. But the good news is, as I mentioned, we have that 8-cent number versus a 9.5 cents there. And then the jail is in group 2, and I should mention, I apologize, group 1 is going to be supplied by Dynegy, which is different than the current agreement that Ross County has was with Freepoint Energy. So you've probably received letters on all the facilities saying, hey, you're making the switch to Dynegy, which that's what's happening. It's supposed to happen. The only confusing part is the jail is going to be with CPV Energy as the supplier for that one. And the good news is the RFP process did its job. When we initially went out for pricing, the groups 2 and 3 were about a cent higher than what they came back at back in December. So we had a competitive bidding, and CPV came in and bidded very competitively to get groups 2 and 3 there. That account is a capacity pass-through, which is what we did with the last contract for the county, where everything is fixed except for capacity costs. So the base rate is a 5.767 cents, and then the capacity cost is added in as well. It's not a separate, you're not going to receive separate bills, it's just the price fluctuates a little bit based upon several things. Peak load contribution is one of the big things, and that's how much a meter uses in the 4 or 5 hottest days of the summertime. So that number is going to be a little bit lower than what the rest of the accounts are at that 8 cents, just because, again, the usage, it makes sense. The lower usage ones, you're not going to really see too much fluctuation. The other thing too is if you happen to do anything from a sense of energy efficiency, that's usually going to happen at the higher usages, and that's where we're going to see with that capacity pass-through pricing. If you do anything where there's energy efficiency changes, that helps to affect to lower the cost there, and that's why that one's done that way versus the all-inclusive pricing there. So Like I said, starting up, you should see the changes on the bills physically this next month here. But everything went as to plan, so that's good. We had 66 counties that participated in the pool. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of accounts that we had to wrangle together and get that taken care of. And the nice thing was too, instead of having each 66 county prosecutors take a look at, the Ohio Prosecutors Association took charge there, and there were a couple prosecutors that took a look at the contracts and agreements and got that all taken care of, and so that was okay and ran through. So this is a 24-month term, so this is going to be good until May of 2027. So the good news is hopefully you don't have to hear from me very often until we get to that point where we're doing the new contracts, but like I said, everything should be good. Again, still going to receive the once a year we have our energy meeting in October, and then we come out with the savings and then the budgets as well for that too. So still going to receive that, but like I said, everything went to plan and smoothly, and we still are seeing the savings there. So that obviously is a good thing for Ross County and all the counties part of the group there. So just wanted to see if you had any questions about anything. Like I said, mostly just wanted to give a quick review about what exactly happened and what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, I got a question. We're on the verge of doing a major renovation on this building.
On this building?
And it'd be new roofs, new windows. So would that be included in the energy efficiency savings part of this?
Probably not, just because usually it'd be something, some of the counties, if they have some space, we're looking more towards like a solar array or something, putting behind the meter. That would affect it. With the roof and the windows, obviously you'll probably see better with the heat and everything like that, but not so much affecting on the electric side of things there. So that shouldn't be, you shouldn't see too much of a change there, where you're still going to be locked in. And again, I believe this building's in that first group there too with the fixed pricing, so it won't be affected as much as, like I said, for the jail did a efficiency change or something there.
So if we put solar panels on the jail.
That'll, like I said, one, yeah, let us know so we can take a look. I mean, we can do a review for you as well, make sure everything looks good there, but two, it'll look good with the capacity costs, because that'll obviously help to lower it. So if it happened to be with capacity costs, it might be like a 7.5 number or 7.8 number, and the solar panels go in, you'll probably see that number come down just because the usage, obviously, you'll pull some from the solar panels versus all being from the grid off of AEP there.
That could be an additional barrier to a roof escape. Put solar panels up there getting their way.
Yeah, and that's what usually we don't see too.
They'll step right over top of it. They'll jump.
Well, and we don't see too much. Usually the facilities guys don't want to mess with the roof too much, obviously, because that's pretty important. It can be pretty costly. It might be something where if some of the counties have land next to the jail or next to a building, and they can put in an array kind of on the ground there and connect it. That's where we'll see a lot of those efficiency programs. But yeah, not too much on the roof, just because that's you don't want to mess too much with the roof and have too much load bearing on that. Could be some issues, but.
We're landlocked on downtown.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we built a new jail at the fairgrounds. We could
Take a look.
Fairgrounds and the jail with that.
What are the rates now and what are they going to?
The rates now, so I think it hasn't changed yet because it's the June bill. So are you talking about for residential or for?
County.
Sure, for the county, so it will be going up to 9.5 cents, a little bit more than that. And the current rate that we got with the program is 8.046 cents. So good savings to be had there. Unfortunately, you'll probably hear too, residential wise, it's just under 10 cents, 9.9 cents per kilowatt hour for residents. Like I said, unfortunately, it's going up all around the state, and it's unavoidable just due to the high demand versus what we have supply-wise. The hope is after a year or so, we kind of see that the supply ticks up, and maybe a lot of the data centers that are coming online are starting to figure out they're going to have to bring their own generation, and so hopefully that kind of helps with the market. And we're probably not going to see the 5 cent numbers that we're used to seeing, but hopefully it comes back down where it's not 10, 11 cents, and we have a little bit lower there going forward.
You have the number for what it was last time?
Yeah, it was 5.699 cents on that. So it is up a little bit, like I said, but unfortunately, everybody's feeling it, and the market's kind of, even with the suppliers, corrected to where it was. We got in at a really good spot on the previous contract, and like I said, unfortunately, it's kind of everything's caught up there.
Now, that 5 cent, was that the all-inclusive?
No, it was capacity pass through last time as well, but capacity was a lot lower the cost. That's where the increase we're seeing is, we went from last year, capacity costs were $29 per megawatt hour day, all the way up to $279 now per megawatt hour day. And that's where we're seeing the big increases. That capacity number has increased quite a bit. The good thing is it's only, good thing, 30%. It's not your entire number. So we didn't see that giant increase where it would have been, 12, 13 cents all in as well. It was just the capacity number that's kind of pushed everything higher there.
I know your daughter's waiting on
I think this is a pretty good rate.
I understand, it is a pretty good rate, even if last year was only 5, that's still a pretty good rate.
Right,
Because
yeah.
If we was going out on our own, we definitely would not see this number.
Right, that's the good thing is versus, the county has, a couple million in kilowatt hour usage. We went out and we had 615 million kilowatt hours in the pool, so quite a bit of purchasing power to be able to secure competitive rates there.
If we are talking about energy efficiency, for one, I would like to understand better how what an ROI looks like for a potential investment in energy efficiency, because understanding what gap is that actually going to save on the
Right.
rate, as much as we think it is, sometimes it's not.
Right.
If we were to do that, I think the most impactful way to do it would likely to be looking at our lighting across our facilities and ensuring that we have the most efficient lighting systems. That LED lighting is much more energy efficient than any other form of lighting, to the point that typically you will see a major savings when you make that investment. However, it's dependent upon the structure of the particular rate. And if you're looking at a consumption-based model, that still considers your demand as a portion of your rate, which I'm assuming that's what you're referring to when you say capacity costs. That can may or may not impact you once you start looking at your load factor and things like that. So it's worth it. I don't know what the lighting installation is over at the jail.
I think we did it.
And-
I know we did at the courthouse. I know we did that, and I think we at the service center. I was thinking we did the same thing in the jail too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said,
big
the-
programs for that stuff.
And the ROI is obviously a lot easier to cross there as well. Because like you're saying, the solar, I mean, it just depends. It's so expensive where you're going to meet your break-even point. The LEDs, you see that right away, like you were saying. And even if it's not affecting the capacity cost, your usage is going to see where you're a downtick there. So obviously there's savings when you're using less as well. So
Yeah, we're in the analysis phase with the 3 solar farms we have in Ross County right now, so.
understandable. Yep. Yeah. And popping up everywhere. So. Yeah, and then hopefully that helps with the capacity issues too, getting those online with the grid too. So that's the hope there. You're seeing some more investments. Some of the nuclear that we're shutting down, they're actually looking at keeping them going. And you've probably heard Microsoft is looking at ramping up 3 Mile Island again just for their data centers in Pennsylvania. So it is, like I said, the demand's so high right now. Now the suppliers are kind of starting to tick back up. Hey, we need to meet that demand and we don't want to have any blackouts or brownouts going out through the country, so it makes sense there.
Well, generation's one thing, transmission's another.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's where the problem
right.
is. I know we have a lot of old wires in the downtown here and in a lot of parts of the county.
Hmm.
So just waiting for something to spark out.
Yeah,
That's really what's driving rates up across the board, is big transmission projects that get passed on to all the transmission rate payers. It's a big thing that's I think that PJM and FERC guidelines around co-located generation for data centers is actually a pretty interesting look. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the next 5-10 years, because you're reducing the urgency for transmission build out, and you're creating, or you're adding assets to the generation fleet of PJM that eventually are going to not likely remain servicing only a data center, or even if they are, that's taking down what you need for, it's just gonna be really interesting to see
Yeah.
how that plays out.
The
because,
puzzle, yeah.
oh man, we're up against the wall right now with power in Ohio and the United States.
Right.
Any other comments, questions?
No, good.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
you
you
very
for coming in, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Do we have a second?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Bills for the week were $659,788.18. There's a load of ACGP grant funding going towards invoices. The Juvenile Detention Center was in there for $60,000.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Do you want to have a question about the adult probation? It's not very much expense.
I'm good with it. I just.
Then and now, $22,359.85.
So, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Have an appropriation from general fund to grants for the Port Authority purchase of $300,000.
So moved. So moved.
Listen, I'm not gonna vote yes on this. Last week, we had a pretty strong conversation about this in executive session. We left out of executive session abruptly to make this vote. This is to give the Port Authority $300,000 to purchase the building on Mulberry and Main for redevelopment. And I can't think of a greater conflict of priority during the navigation of a $1 billion, potentially $1 billion loss of our paper mill, a lack of adequate funding plan to see this project through, lack of alignment toward addressing our most critical needs right now, very little time to consider, nor participation with any stakeholder outside of the folks who are in this room requesting the funding. Lack of transparency in the sense that we've not discussed it, and I don't think that folks know that this is happening or had the opportunity to engage in it. And I think it's a costly, unjustified use of taxpayer funding. So I'm voting no.
Okay. I too was torn by this because it flies in the face of our guiding principles. I see it as a starting point for Port Authority, and they just have to get a vision to that and a plan for that property if they're going to go through with this.
I think fundamentally, a Port Authority should be working on other things other than historic preservation.
Figured out.
That's not tied to any sort of job creation whatsoever.
That's all this is, it's a preservation project.
Yep.
It's not an economic development project.
Well, it's called an economic development project. Listen, I lost my cool last week, and I don't do that very often. And part of it was from frustration, yes, in the way that this all was brought and discussed in executive session. Much of it, though, is passion, because I see a situation that we're up against in that we are dealing with the imminent closing of a large employer to our area. We have articulated the need for shovel-ready sites. We've articulated the need to grow in so many different ways. And this will be driving our resources towards something that does not represent growth, that does not represent addressing the crisis that we have in front of us. And I just, more than the money itself, it's the conflict of priority and what we should be working on and what we should be supporting or setting direction to those who are employed by this community to do economic development.
You know, I think if they researched a way to make this something that would at least produce its own ROI. The way that was presented is not going to do that. I'd like to table this because I'm not sure how I feel about it. Yeah, I know what we told them.
Well, we had a vote and asked to give them $300,000. And the vote was 2-1. At last Monday's meeting.
I'd like to table this to give them time to get a better plan together. Do you have any problems with that?
I don't have a problem with it.
I just think we need to be sure. Because this is, David makes some strong points, and we did put together some guiding principles to help us make decisions, and this doesn't match up to clearly a single one of them on its own. It just doesn't.
Let's keep moving then.
Got an appropriation of funds from the court administration TCAP grants for equipment, $5,518.38. Needs to pay for safety lighting and for a community service van for the courts.
So,
Do I have a second?
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have a transfer of funds from the County Sheriff's Office to TCRC. This is to correct a salary total for Terry Collins grant in the amount of $4,223.20.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. We did that?
Yeah, we did.
I'll be okay. I was must have been asleep over here.
Don't do that to me. All right, we have asset disposal form from the engineer's office. This is a Honda GX 100 Rammer MTX 60 compactor. That's damaged beyond repair.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, thank you.
you read that email about the storm drain,
I'm not sure it was. copied.
stormwater maintenance?
Over there.
No,
Oh,
this
that
is-
was the guy, yeah, the lady that wrote into her backyard was flooding.
Yeah.
I don't think it got sent to me.
Oh, shit.
I thought it came to me.
I've got it right here.
I don't know.
Well, that was, I read it over the weekend. Shows you how.
Here it comes.
Request for county maintenance stormwater easement flood 166 Greystone Court.
Yeah, 166 Greystone Court, which is in the city.
Or you just, no, I'm getting you.
Yeah.
What's the address?
166 Greystone, which is behind Los Mariachis or someplace like that. It's in that.
I just sent it to you, Brad. I have a certificate of release for signature, mortgage of Victoria McFadden has been satisfied. She received assistance through the Ross County 2008 CHIP grant.
So moved.
Second.
In favor?
All right.
Aye. Then we have a modification to a Department of Transportation project for beam deflection to be added to this. This is for replace structure of existing bridge carrying Treacle Creek Road, Township Road 183 over tributary to Indian Creek. And they wanted to add a beam deflection to the project.
What's a beam deflection?
Is that what this says, Kathy, beam deflection?
Yeah, it's some type of a modification to the plans. ODOT changed the plans,
Okay.
actually.
I thought you said beam deflection at
That's
first.
what I think I'm reading here.
What?
Added a beam deflection.
If it came from ODOT and they're working on a bridge, I'm gonna trust ODOT's knowledge on bridges more than mine, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phil.
That's that green plastic stuff on top of the dividers that cuts your headlights from going across the
That's
lane.
beam
Ah.
deflection, yeah.
Okay,
See,
got it.
I know what I'm talking about.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You guys check see if anybody's in that closet.
No. I was
No,
just about
I'm
to say,
scared.
what
I'm
is
just gonna
in
leave
that
them in there
closet?
for a minute.
It's weird.
One of the piece of news we learned at the CCAO Board of Directors meeting last week that Kathy Coleman is a new commissioner in Scioto County and was in a very bad automobile accident. She's been in critical condition for a few weeks now. So I just wrote a card if you feel inclined to sign that.
166 Greystone.
All right, so here's what you got here. This is Burr Heights right here.
Mm-hmm. That's what she says, come on, we're high.
comes off of there when it's raining hard,
Yeah.
like a monsoon. So this is the way it was built. And it's, originally, this piece is part of, what do they call that, when you go down the hill there and turn to the right, it's, I can't remember, I'll think about it here in a minute. Either way, we did work in this ditch before any of these houses here were there. They were just building these houses. And there's a couple homes right here that the water kept coming up, clear up into their yard. But if you look at this little creek right here, you see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's runoff from Brewer Heights. So when it really comes down hard, it comes down that thing, and I mean, it can be 6-8 feet deep, moving fast when it comes off there. Because this is all grade goes downhill. I think it's right in here, and that could be part of it. We put a catch basin in there to catch some of the water and move it away from there. We removed all the trees. I don't remember those. That's a little farther up than I think. Let's see, this might be the piece that comes across this way too. Yeah, see this creek here? It also comes this way, and it goes into here. And that house again wasn't there when we built this. So this water comes down here. Some of it gets caught in the catch basin, but most of it goes right down through their backyards and dumps into this holding pond, right, this detention area.
We've had this discussion before, haven't we?
Oh, Lord.
Not with this one, though.
No,
with them,
1,000
this
times.
area, I remember
Yeah.
this area.
So, yeah, we had this all relayed, all the ditch was fixed. The ditch was all mowed and taken care of in here. This guy, when he built this house, he put this gravel in there, which the issue is when you look at the auditor's map, there's a right of way right down the middle of this thing to take this water off of that hill. And it's to me, it's not a county problem. We have to look at where the city right where the city limits are now. It's all changed in the last few years.
That's all, I think this is all in the city.
Well, it's all off of this.
You know, the boundaries are real weird up there.
They're very weird. And when they built these houses, instead of putting the utilities coming in off the road, they've got some of them coming in off the back. So as you look down through here, and these aren't the best pictures, you can't really see with it. I don't know why it's so blurry, but there's electric transformers all back through there too. So when we put that catch basin in there, we had to have AEP there because there's some big stuff in there and we didn't want to hit it. And that was done by the county engineer. At our request, because I mean, it really was backed up. At one point, there were lots and lots of trees growing in here, just backing the stuff up into these people's yards. Of course, it didn't matter over here because these people weren't built yet. Now, the lady that's complaining is the one that's right here on this cul-de-sac.
Right.
She's going to have water. Look how close she is to that ditch. And I can tell you that when that stuff comes down here, it can be 6 or 8 foot deep, moving fast, and it's probably right there on her lot.
She's just trying to figure out who's gonna fix the problem.
Well, and I think
That's her problem.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Well, she came up with,
Well, we need to understand what our obligations are from a stormwater standpoint, and if that ditch is still adequate, and if it's not, whose responsibility is it to fix that? I'd be ticked too if I had my basement flooding constantly, and there's been development literally upstream, up the hill, that's increased the impervious surfaces, or that maybe has, which is contributing to more runoff. And so, you know, I don't know that if it's a county problem or a city problem. And I agree, she's the one, and all these residents here are probably dealing with some of that. And even more to that, you know, I've got groundwater runoff issues at my house, and, you know, part of that's my own drainage. But I think at the very least we have to.
It happens over here. It happens. The hillside here that you're looking at is huge.
Yeah.
So this is at the bottom, you know, when you're coming down, I don't know what we call it Western Avenue, but you know what the drop-off's like there.
yeah.
You know how far down the hill you go right there? Well, that's the ridge line right there that runs all the way through here.
That's a cliff almost.
Almost, it's pretty steep. But this is not a new issue. This has been going on for a long time. We've had Soil and Water look at it, we've had the engineers department look at it, but I believe that ditch is in the easement of each one of those properties. So really, it's their property to take care of.
Well, she said that she talked to Dan Howell.
Yeah, he's the builder. He was the owner of the
He's
property.
the owner of the property.
Yep.
And she said that she pays stormwater managed fee.
She pays the tax. I think she does. I don't know which houses. Some
She
do out
said
there.
she pays taxes for that purpose. She says the Ross County Stormwater Management and Sediment Control Regulation says that the Ross County Commissioners, says responsibility for maintenance is just stated as the Board of Ross County Commissioners shall ultimately be responsible for permanent maintenance of the stormwater management facility.
And that is not there. That is the piece that's on Hanover right here. That's what you sign that paperwork every year.
Is it square, is that the pond?
That's it. That's the.
And we don't take care of anything else.
We did work in there once before, but where she is, it's gonna be very difficult to get to her because the house is so close to that ditch. And this is, when it comes off that hill, off of the city's property onto this property, I'm telling you, it's a raging river. And I can see where it probably does get in her yard. With the rains we've had, and maybe that's the first time she's lived there since the rains we've had, I don't know.
She says she's lived there for a while, and it flooded her basement 4 times last year. I'm thinking, we didn't have any rain, hardly any rain last year.
Yeah.
But she flooded her basement 4 times last year.
You can imagine what it was like this year.
Oh, yeah, I understand, this year, yeah. And she's got some video and stuff like that that shows that where the water was running off, but to me, I mean, I just don't.
Does she live in the city or the county?
She lives in the county, I mean, that's city.
Are you sure?
Is it
That's what I'm
Hanover?
saying.
Is it Hanover?
No,
No, it's farther back, it's off of Hanover.
So it's like Granite Cliff, beside Granite Cliff. If that, it's over on that side, then it is county, because we lived on Granite Cliff.
Yeah, see, so here's,
That's what I was gonna say. I thought it was county.
It cuts off around Albenhurst.
Denny Howell bought the property and laid all these plots out. And people have built on them. Mr. Bales Construction has built many of these homes.
Yeah.
That's county.
This lot here and this lot were what George Lavender was gonna purchase, and they ended up, I think they bought it and then sold it, and moved the Abels. We've dealt, this is a problem that, to me, it was a design issue that they never really wanted to address. So there's a little creek that runs right here.
Is runoff management or soil and water management a part of planning commission and what they review and?
Should be, if it's not.
Yeah, so this is another reason why that's important, to make sure that what we're setting up is preserves what people are investing in. I would like, I hear what you're saying, Brad, and you've got context to this. This constituent's under the impression that this is on the county, and I'm hearing it may not be on the county. I think it'd be good to have a definitive answer, because the only one of these,
looks like she, you know,
either it's part of our responsibility or.
reading her thing, she says that she called the city and the city said it belonged to the county, called the county and said the county said it belonged to the city.
Well, there's an easy way to find that out. We just see where the established lines are. But if it is any kind of, if it is in the county, think it'd do any good to have Charlie look at it? Or the soil and water?
It's not our
They
responsibility.
don't have to look at it, they already know. They know exactly what it is. I mean, you can have them look at it, but they're gonna tell you the same thing I'm telling you.
What was that last year? They did work on farther downstream, pardon my pun, in the open field where that opens up going around the curve. They did some work on the ditch there.
Where's that at?
The same thing, the same ditch, coming out of Hesswood Hills there, goes behind her house, goes farther down the backyards there until you get to the curve in Greystone. Just keep zooming out there, down there, right about where your cursor is.
On Almahurst?
Zoom in,
Well, these houses all back up to that ditch.
zoom in. In that corner where it goes over
Here?
to Hanover, where the ditch goes. See it flowing
This goes to
through? Yeah,
here?
we did some
Yeah.
work right in there last year or the year before.
We
We mow-
continually mow this.
We mow it. That's the only thing we do with
And
it.
then it goes under the road and it goes into this ditch, this holding pond here, which we mow also. And then it goes underground, and I think it comes out, let's see, is that it right there? I think it comes out right here. And it ends up in Paint Creek somehow. There's some more of it over here. I can't remember, let's see.
Well, the three of us in here don't know what the remediation is for that, so.
Yeah.
I think if it is in the county, we need a closer look at that by somebody who does.
So
But the stormwater maintenance is only done on the catch ponds. Am I right, Brad? That's what they do.
Say that again?
The catch ponds is what the stormwater maintenance.
That's all, that's all amount of the, that's only requirement we have, I believe, because these are, if I can find it here, I'll show you. Sunrush, the word I was looking for. This is owned by the county. Oh, actually, it shows the city, but
yeah, this is up on.
so that must mean that these houses were annexed into the city. But you can see from this map where that ditch is. And that's their property line is to the middle of that ditch. And this property line is to the middle of the ditch. Now, maybe on their deeds, it says they have a right of way for utility easements because like I said, that's where all the stuff is. But I'm not sure that we have any jurisdiction back here. But we do here. It says city, but it probably should be listed as county. Maybe it was county, and then when it got annexed, it got turned over to the city. But they don't maintain it, we're still maintaining it. You want to have Charlie look at it?
Yeah, I think we need
to see.
A, find out if it is in the city or not. And then B, if there's anything he can do with, hydrostatic studies or flow management. If we have any responsibility of that, I just wanna be sure before we answer.
And my head was going another direction, which was the prosecutor's office, who could tell us from a legality standpoint where our obligation
Yeah.
exists in stormwater versus where it doesn't.
Well, we've had this conversation too, and with Charlie, and we've looked up all this because you guys have a ditch you maintain up there in Pickaway County, right?
Right.
And you guys split that, whatever. The way that when Charlie's read it and others have looked at it, and I don't know if Jeff was the prosecutor when we did this, but basically, we're not even required to mow it. The money is collected in case that fails, or it needs repairs, or it needs upgraded. That's what the money, the taxes are collected for, if I understand it right. That's a conversation I heard maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, is that's the only obligation of that money, of that tax.
Well, right.
We mow it because it's behind people's homes and it looks like hell if you don't.
I'm trying to think of this from the perspective of someone whose basement's flooding and who is paying a fee on some annual or monthly basis so that they can manage stormwater. And so if it's not our jurisdiction, it's not our jurisdiction. And I'm good to shut up about it. I just think I don't know if this was flooding 5 or 6 years ago, or, 5 or 6 years ago isn't too soon to have a second look at it. I just want to be sure that we're not telling someone that it's not our problem, it's theirs, winning. I want to be sure of that, I think.
You know, all that stuff that's coming off the city's property up there, that's all Burr Heights. That's the issue, that's where it comes from. And they just piped it over the hill because for years that was just farmland.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden somebody bought it and started developing homes in it. It's even more so, I mean, the way they did it in Almahurst too, and in all of this Sunrush division, is all the utilities are behind the homes.
Or behind the house, yeah.
So in that case of the one we're looking at, the utilities were put, I'm sure those deeds all have right-of-ways there. That doesn't make it the county or the city's issue to maintain, but we can maintain it if you want to. I don't know how, I mean, we've had Charlie look at this many times before, and then trying to decide how to fix it. But as long as that water's coming down that mountain right there and into that ditch that's there, that just so happens to be behind their house, it's not good. But I can ask him to look at it again.
Yeah, if he could just tell us the history of this, I think that'd be helpful.
Okay.
And we gotta find out where the city and county limits, where those are.
Yeah, I don't know what's annexed there. What does this say? Honey Creek Properties. Bean Fry, that's all part of Sunrush. I think I know who owns this. This is Joe Uri. I'm pretty sure, because he has a house right here on the end, right here. I'm pretty sure. And he ends that piece. Does he call it something else there? No, that's his.
Yeah, I'm not trying to run away from a problem here.
No.
If it's our responsibility, well, we need to find out if it's our responsibility.
I'll send Charlie an email.
Any other discussion on this? And we'll check with the prosecutor to see what our legal challenges are. All right, then we all got the letter for the horse under the care of equine veterinarian. And a response back from the Humane Society in Fayette County. I don't know what,
Keeping it on the board.
yeah.
That's what it was. 'Cause I read that, and the horse was old. Yes.
Yeah, and was this on the, on Ross County property or on Fayette County property?
I believe it's Fayette.
Mhm. Yeah, I was just saying, it's Fayette, so I don't know what.
That was kind of mine.
I thought it was on Fayette. I was just wondering why we ended up getting the letter from Humane Society in Fayette County. On a horse that's in Fayette County.
The county had considered the matter closed because, like you said, it's an old horse. Brad, you got anything?
Just a couple of things.
Just a card for Scioto County Commissioner, the mail.
And we voted on the floor, so
This document is for Keene at the jail. We talked about this before, we got some info on it, filled it up.
What is it telling us?
Excuse me?
What is it telling us?
It is an agreement to have keys made by that company that can only be made by that company under the request of only the people that sign it. They don't want other people to have access to it. So these are the people that they can sell the keys to at this point. Sheriff didn't want anybody in the jail to have it, anybody in law enforcement, because they get lost, they open up stuff, they change the locks on stuff. Without somebody in those 3 signatures, nobody now can buy those keys. If you want to take it and look at it, that's fine.
Yeah, so you and Kathy are now the key masters, huh?
Well, no, we can order them, we don't want to hold them, they'll be held by Dan. He's got a box over there, he's already got keys for the jail in it, but that's where they'll be held. Kathy's gonna pay the bill when they send it, so put her in there. I supervise Dan, so my name's on there, but Dan is the guy that's gonna be running the keys for the jail. If the sheriff wants one and he requests one, then he gets one. Have a discussion about what we're changing out so that we don't go through this $400,000 thing again.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a plan?
yes.
That's fine.
We already approved that anyway.
You know, I know.
We already approved that anyway. It's already been approved.
You guys are gonna give them the money for that, the whole 9 yards, remember?
We already approved that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the deed's done, and, like you said, I don't want this to happen again, I don't, you know.
Yeah, this is just procedural.
Yep.
So moved.
So,
Second.
All right.
getting ahead.
I didn't know if you were asking for something.
I'm just saying the other signature.
This is to hire backups, part-time employees for the building department. I think that
Okay. Let's keep.
Josh talked to you about.
Yeah, we talked about
One
Chief
for
Putman and David Duckworth as
The
needed.
nuisance.
Charging rates of
Yeah. they
submitted to
bought
the county,
on
pay
that
for their
in
time and
September,
travel,
And
and
it was, because the neighbor wanted to buy it.
we shouldn't have to
tear
pay
down.
for this.
There was a buyer out of
when we use them
Wyoming,
unless it's for
and
Ross
then they
County.
started working on it.
So moved.
And it seemed like it kind of stopped, but there has been somebody local has bought it. And so,
So it may be double.
most of the.
You're not adding the staff.
I know, but I'm just.
And
See, I didn't look at
wanting
it.
there, they
But
were
I
gone.
just,
So this isn't him for sending people over to Greenfield or Hillsborough or Jackson.
see, that's what I was thinking.
Waverly, where he does this other church.
And
Yeah.
outside, they had a 3
I'm
yard
hoping,
dumpster.
I'm hoping that's what it's for.
Talked to her.
I wasn't in here
She
for
said
the
there was a
conversation.
30-yard
But my thing
dumpster
is
that had been,
let's say
there was a 30-yard
we say
dumpster
yes,
sitting there.
we did say yeah, it's gonna be a good. The thing is, let's say that we
You go out.
sign this off and go,
2-3 months ago.
Josh and Dave, the other guy,
And they've been working on it.
one's in Hillsborough and the other one's in Wellston, and they need something here.
Said that all of
You got
the
that
dogs
word?
were out there.
Use one of the part-time people,
So-
do something here if they're out of county. Okay.
Usually
As
two.
long as, because I don't wanna, my thing is, I don't wanna put the bill on somebody. If Josh and the other guy is not in
And surprisingly, like.
Yeah, I could, you know, I don't think in those situations we can promise that 100% of the time it's gonna be, but, you know, it's better than leaving people concerned or.
Yeah, both of them know what they're doing, so I'm not sure that.
Now, the woman that was,
So
she
the-
owned 2 other properties, one in front of them,
All in favor, say aye.
the other houses down. And that was just like, I she's like, I said, Mom, why don't you say that? She goes, well, I'm living on, look at nothing, not happy with it.
Did you guys discuss rate of pay and all that? Did you discuss rate of pay and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's all here.
Maybe it'll be.
Everybody that's out there, hey, we're live, so we can hear you. Don't have a conversation, you can go out in the hallway, please. Thank you. I listened to it before, and it was a madhouse when people sit here at this time. Got 4 or 5 conversations going on, you don't know what the conversation.
Chat GDP doesn't work when multiple people are talking.
Everybody signed?
No, the last one, I think.
I didn't decide the last one.
Next thing is a preventive maintenance and service agreement for the LCNB Bank. It is exactly the same numbers as what that fine gentleman sitting back there in the back always sent us.
Hell, he could have ripped this off.
They should have lowered the price now. I'm not there.
Everything there?
So moved.
$5,823.38.
It's for 2 years.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Turning a lot of stuff over into a team. I can hear what's going on. Option is free. Was this one grant program paid for that? Was that a different one?
No, it's
Same thing.
No, I was just waiting.
Oh, good morning, I'm glad you did. Yeah, it's a bear.
So moved.
Good morning.
Time sheet. All in favor, say aye.
We got
Oh, no. I'm not a frog in my throat.
Is that Coke that helps with it, or protection?
Seriously, there's no way.
No spray.
Yeah. Good weather's got to be good news.
Earlier on, it almost felt like that, but they progressed, they want an amendment to everything. I'm like, okay. So concept.
Right.
Then you get into design, you figure out. Those wrinkles.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course,
So concept to actual design development.
I didn't get it.
very.
I'm not on the land bank. I'm not on the land bank.
In case you get asked on a game show or something.
I'll just get that after. Oh, I-
have 10 o'clock, Mr. Mayor, if you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. We'll call this meeting to order. All right. This is the May, I was in June, May meeting of Land Bank. We probably do a roll call, but we'll observe the members in attendance. Everybody should have the March 17th meeting minutes in front of you. If you have a chance to review those, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Auditor Spitnagel is here for our financial report.
As of the end of April, the cash balance is $47,236. We completed the compilation and have begun the audit. And I did send out an email. The auditor needs this fraud questionnaire completed by May 23rd. So if we can get that sent to her right away, that would be appreciated. And that's all I have.
And
All
that's,
members have to fill that out?
Yeah, all board members, yeah.
and they need to, have they already completed this digitally?
Yeah.
Tricia? Okay. And they were sent it back to you or sent it back directly to her?
Directly to her.
Okay.
So I CC'd her on there.
Great. You didn't have that. Any questions on that, just reach out to either the auditor directly or to Tricia, I think would be fine too.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second?
I'd like that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Okay, some old business to run through, and today we don't have a lot of big business to carry, just some updates, so start there. The building demolition and revitalization grant, our cure is complete. We sent that back, and we are just awaiting a signed copy of the grant agreement. We have no reason to think that that won't come back in short order. And so because of that, because the cure is done, one of the things that we have to do as a part of those demolitions is asbestos surveys. So we have those bid packets out, and they are due today actually, and we've received interest from several entities, which is good, because not that we've had trouble in the past, but the more interest the better. Property sales, that 101 Prospect, this is just an update that there isn't really much of an update. This is one where the title was not clear. It was a sheriff's sale procedural issue. We expect that to be resolved by the end of June, and then that sale to move forward hopefully at that point. Gabriel, do you want to give us any updates, or are there any updates on the tax forfeiture process?
Not really. Things are moving through the pipeline. One situation that we're starting to encounter is that since we've been prioritizing problem properties, we just got our first property that went to auction and did not receive any bids. So that will be set back for auction this week, and if it doesn't get any bids again, then we get to figure out the process of forfeiture and what to do with it. This particular property is 310 Clay Street, and the place is a mess. I forget offhand what the back taxes are, but it would be a huge cleanup job. But that's, I guess on one hand, it's a sign of progress that things are moving through, but with some of the other properties that we've been moving on, we are getting more sale dates, but I anticipate we're probably going to see this situation again.
And is it, there is a process where if it goes through and there's no bids, at some point it's put out to either the land bank or other governmental entities to kind of claim?
Yeah, there is, and I haven't yet had an opportunity to really delve into this. I know that the statute was changed in the past couple of years. So I think it's actually supposed to be easier for other public entities to get their hands on properties. But I haven't had the opportunity yet to really make sense of it. But I know that there has been a law change in the past few years.
Is that one in particular on our demo list? Okay.
But I think that would be a good candidate for demolition of our revitalization grant.
I think if we just wait, demolition might take care of itself. If you look at the pictures on it, on either the auditor's site or on Google Earth, it looks like the progression of the disease. It's in bad shape.
Yeah, if we do come into possession of it, yeah, it's going to need some serious, either demolition or revitalization.
Right. Yeah, I think, so for the demolition and revitalization grant, you know, we had to put those properties listed earlier in the year. But that doesn't mean that not through the grant process, the city, you know, at some point the city has an obligation to tear something like that down. But it still could end up in the land bank hands. So I guess once we get to that point where the second sale goes up and it doesn't go through, then we can address whether it should be a land bank or city or how to address that.
My prediction is we'll be in that situation Wednesday afternoon.
Does it go up, you said Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't really have any specific update. Things are moving through the process. We've got some more properties that we're moving on, but otherwise, nothing specific.
Okay. Item D on there has been on there for a while. It's the home repair program that the land bank is going to facilitate. This was ARPA money from the city to the land bank. And it's a total of $350,000. The concept is that it goes out into the community to help people repair their homes. There's an MOU drafted, and we need prosecutor's office to basically approve the MOU as to form. And as I understand, we don't have an update on that just yet.
I have forwarded a copy. I will do that again and try to bring it to Jeff's attention.
Okay, appreciate that. And that's okay. Any other old business? Otherwise, we'll move on to new business. Okay, so property acquisitions. 626 Glencroft was a property that was on the demolition list. The prosecutor filed for foreclosure back in February. And you can see there are over 12 paying taxes due. And I suppose this is one that's just taking the natural course of the foreclosure process.
It is. I have a motion for default and summary judgment that should be filed today. If not, then very soon. The problem with this one is that there is a mortgage on the property, and the mortgagee, West Banco, who was originally Oak Hill, is asserting its interest in it. There's approximately $70,000, a little less than that, that's still owed on the mortgage, as well as a state income tax lien for a little under $1,000. I'm not worried about the state lien, but the mortgage makes it a little problematic. If the owners can deliver clear title, with the exception of taxes and assessments, we can take care of the rest, but we're not really in a position to try to negotiate the release of a mortgage. And it's for a not insignificant amount of money. So my approach is to continue with the normal foreclosure process. So it'll probably, I would anticipate that my motion will be granted, and then it'll be set for auction like the other properties. This one, yes, this is on the demolition list. So the waters have been muddied as far as the land bank trying to get their hands on this right now.
So, and just for everybody's reference, sounds like between property taxes and income taxes, there's $13K owed. And if it went to foreclosure, maybe the most likely scenario is that the bank would buy it itself, but they would have to pay off those debts first. Okay. But in the meantime, if the land bank wanted to demo it, it could, because it's on the demo list, and that's sort of independent of the foreclosure process.
Yeah.
But if I understand correctly, also, this property's not in
It's not the
terrible,
worst of the
terrible, it's not the
worst.
worst of the worst, yeah.
Does that still have $10,943 in taxes owed?
Yeah, at a minimum, on here it says 12K, so it might be that 12K is the income tax plus the real estate, I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, I'm reading this off a February 24th, 2024 agenda.
Oh, yes,
We've been
yeah.
talking about this for a
a
long
while,
time.
yeah.
There was probably a half-year payment and
Right.
some interest and stuff like that.
So that one will just proceed because the mortgagee has entered into it, is that right? Just, yeah. Okay. There's another one on Glencroft that we also have, is also on the demo list.
619.
619, which is in worse shape than this one, right? But there's a sale possibility, I think, and that's maybe we're navigating that, I guess is the best way to say it. Okay, and this was the topic of conversation last meeting. 228 Church Street is a narrow parcel in Roxbell. And the owner is interested in donating it to the land bank. Based on our past practices, obtaining this narrow parcel doesn't exactly fit into our past practices unless it was to obtain and then immediately grant to somebody, deed to somebody else as a side lot. Because when we, in terms of acquisition, we've been acquiring things where there's something blighted, and then we can put it back into use. This I don't think is big enough to build anything on, so it seems like the value is really as a side lot. And so I think there was some conversation about this last meeting, but for us as a parcel, if we were to acquire this, we just have to start mowing it, but not necessarily have, the upside for redevelopment. Maybe, that parcel alone, owning it alone, there's not a lot of upside for redevelopment. So I'm open to conversation on that one. But in the past, we have been somewhat cautious about what donations we accept, because if there's not a plan to move it all on. Any further conversation on that?
Tricia and I had spoken about this on Friday, I believe it was. It's adjacent to another sliver that somebody was interested in donating, and it is right next door to one of our foreclosure parcels, which we should have a sale date on soon. So if the foreclosure auction goes as is expected, and we are able to then obtain these other two parcels, this could be combined into one
Usable
larger
lot.
site. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I'm going to move this out of new business, and then for the next agenda, either put it in as an update on foreclosures, and then assuming my thought would be, if the foreclosure goes through, then we can think about obtaining the other two slivers, and because then I think if you're receiving for nothing and flipping it into something that somebody might build on, then there might be some opportunity. But it sounds like with the three parcels together, it might be a lot. That
Yeah, and
somebody
I
might want.
believe, and Kelly can update me on this, but I think that there is a functioning septic on one of the sections at least. And depending on how the auction goes, the buyer might want these other two parcels. I would, to square it off and
Sure.
settle everything.
And in that scenario, we would just encourage the potential donors to transfer quitclaim directly to doesn't have to come through the land bank in that scenario.
Yeah, in that sense, and we could help facilitate that transaction, and the purchasers could purchase the properties as for the taxes due.
Right.
Something like that. There are options available.
Great.
not specific to this not specific to this property, but Mayor, I agree with you that I think we do need to continue as a principle to be selective of donations we accept, because we gotta stay true to the purpose and mission of the land bank, which is to acquire property for redevelopment, not just acquiring property to maintain.
Yeah, there have been situations in the past, it's especially, most of it's been the type of the grant, and if it says you have to acquire something, we haven't acquired much, but I think as long as we stay aware of the potential pitfalls, we should be in good shape. Gabriel, I guess you're back up. Do you want to give us any updates on these, or?
Not really. Things have been kind of busy, and I haven't really gotten around to doing a whole lot on these yet, with the exception of the Clarksburg gas station property owned by Miss Ellen Jordan. Treasurer and I have spoken about this. Tricia and I have spoken about it. I do have a signed donation agreement. Which brings us to the question of if this is a property that the land bank is actually interested in receiving. There are some potential issues with the site pertaining to the underground storage tanks and some other environmental issues. Beyond that, I mean, I don't really have an opinion either way as to what the land bank should do with this. And it also kind of creates a gray area as to whether or not I could even advise the land bank on this as a client. But she has signed the donation form and is interested in disposing of the property. So that's where we are on this.
So there used to be an always open, essentially abandoned gas station fund. My understanding is that has rolled in with the brownfield funds, which are competitive and open annually. So, whereas a few years ago, I think we could have gone straight to the abandoned gas station fund. And if I understand correctly, if if the land bank acquires property that it knows it has underground tanks on, it can do that and then do the remediation process. Whereas an owner might not be able to do that remediation process with that grant. And so I think, Tricia, we have an estimate of around $70K to remediate a property like that. And so my thought would be that either with the document that's already been signed or some sort of option agreement or something like that, we have it queued up and ready to apply during the next cycle. And then if we were to receive the funds, then we acquire it and remediate the property and move on. But otherwise, it's kind of a pig in a poke, and we'd be on the hook for the remediation ourselves to the tune of $70 grand. So I don't know if there's further.
We do have Jen with Tetra Tech here, if you had anything to add about that one.
And you're correct, 100% correct. That's what we want to do, is apply for that program. And that, of course, is a cycle.
Right. In about a year from now. Well, the application we do earlier, but yeah. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because we've come up on these cycles before where we don't have properties. We start to scramble, where are the brownfields, where are the, so having something on the list 9 months in advance is not necessarily a bad thing, except for I'm sure Ms. Jordan would like to move on. But that being said, what we will do between now and that application deadline is make sure that we know the parameters of what type of agreement needs to be in place for acquisition options, whatever, so that we have the right to apply for that remediation on behalf of that property. Maybe the grant or the donation agreement is enough, I'm not sure, but my suggestion would be, and there's no action needed at this time, but my suggestion would be that we queue it up for the application and then apply next year.
Makes sense.
Okay. Tricia, was there any other new business that we didn't have on the agenda we need to cover?
I actually would like to bring something up
Yeah.
related to the expedited property foreclosures. So there is Todd and Holly Johnson here from Bourneville. There is a property adjacent to a property they own that burned down. I don't remember exactly when, but relatively
March
recently. March 11th. And I think that once we get through this round of expedited foreclosures, this is one worthwhile considering. I do understand that they want to acquire the property and even willing to do the remediation and cleanup on that property. It's just the issues of acquiring the property. I think the owner is deceased, if I recall.
18 years.
And it's currently over $9,000 delinquent, and it's just sitting burned husk at this point.
It's starting to get mosquitoes
Mosquitoes
and
and
it becoming a
rodents,
health problem,
you know.
so. And the hotter it gets, the
They
worse.
showed up today and they can offer any other information regarding the property, but I think this is one that should be on our radar, at least to discuss about possible expedited foreclosure, clearing up those titles, and then if they'd like to purchase it or we transfer or convert it to them at that point. So that we can get that property cleaned up and productive use.
Yeah, it's right beside her business, her hair salon too, so, you know, it's kind of an eyesore when customers are coming in there.
What's the address on that one?
11487, Route 50. We also had brought in, there was damage to my dad, like he had been burnt on his arm,
Get him out of the
and
house.
there was $30,000 worth of damage to our property. Thankfully, we had insurance and we were able to take care of that. I mean, that's beauty from ashes, but it doesn't take away the trauma of what my handicapped parents had to be evacuated from this house. You know, my mom's in a wheelchair, my dad's had a stroke, and I brought them down there to be safe, which is all on a township level, not here. But to acquire that for us would be very beneficial. We can make it a green space, somewhere that my parents don't have to worry about someone getting in there that's going to.
Pop a trailer or something in there and we'd go back to the same problem.
You know, yeah, we.
There's been sheriff, you know, numerous amounts of times the sheriff has been out there about the squatters. There was no electric, no water in this house when it burnt. There was no appliances, no clothes. Most of the copper wire was going out of this house, you know, it's just how squatters do. You know, and now it's just kind of an eyesore to us and to the community there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's just, there's 2 of them burnt there now. But, you know, if somehow we can accommodate or get this one, then I used to do jobs on burned up homes, mud double wides. I've got equipment.
Okay.
I can go in and do the cleaning. That would save the county from having to get a grant. As he had told us, you know, and probably clean up once, probably gonna be somewhere between $8,000 to $15,000, $16,000. You know, it's probably, I don't know, several loads of stuff would have to come out of there. But, you know, I got, like I said, I got trucks, dump trucks and equipment to do it with. And, you know, we'd like to talk to you guys about some kind of deal on
Right.
it. More or less, it's about her parents and the community having to look at it.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
very much an eyesore.
yeah.
Is the other one that burned, was it abandoned too?
Yeah.
No, no, the one her parents lived in, we just remodeled it 2.5 years
The other
ago.
one that was burnt.
Oh.
It was,
You-
it belonged to Albert Gray.
Albert Bray, which you guys is part of it.
Are there currently 2 lots though in Bourneville that burned down? Is that what you're saying? Or just one
There's 2
now?
places, but the one we're after is connected to ours.
Next.
But you know, there's 2 places that are burned. One of them though is Albert Bray's, and right now Albert passed away. And I think he had 9 kids, and right now it's all, look, he's laughing. You know.
9 kids, no will.
Yeah, you know.
So that's 11487, what's the name of the road?
State Route 50. It's
Yeah.
right in the middle of Bourneville.
Right in the middle of Bourneville.
Yeah, so this one, I would say, probably does fit in the mission, right? And then, I don't know that, I don't recall a scenario where we've done what I would call sort of in kind, like you're kind of saying, we did work on it and there's value for that, but we have done things in the past where people have mowed side lots, and eventually if you mow them for so long, so I do think that there's a good chance for a win-win here. Now, This hasn't been filed though, right?
No, I don't know, we just.
No,
okay.
it's on our list right now. What I
Okay.
wanted to do is bring before the
Yeah.
land bank, because I think land bank might be the best vehicle for one
Right.
acquisition and then the transfer to the Johnsons.
Right.
But I want to bring it there and then possibly talk about putting on to vote to the next round of expedited foreclosures that we do file for.
Yeah.
Or at least maybe do a title search and just see what comes up with that before we proceed.
And it has back taxes as well?
It does. It's a little over 9,000 in delinquent taxes currently.
And I know this might not be relevant, but it's frustrating to me that the daughter abandoned this house. And I have a sheriff's report that they had gotten a hold of her on March the 6th. And she said she would take care of it, and it burned on March the 11th. There's nobody gonna be accountable for what my parents and us went through. No one's accountable for it. And it's very hurtful.
I'll imagine.
Anything else on that Route 50 property or any other new business? Yes.
I'd like to inquire on the status of 7 2nd Street in Kingston. The reason I'm inquiring, the roof is in the process with the high winds we've had a couple of times are coming off, flapping in the breeze. That's potentially a health hazard when if it comes off and hits somebody, hits a vehicle or anything else. The property's not boarded up. It's been in that condition now for going on 3 years. I was just curious if anybody knows where the status of that is, because it needs to be torn. It's not being mowed. It's going to have rodent issues and everything else. I mean, it's just an eyesore.
I can address that. I meant to give you a call, I didn't get around to it. It has been set for auction. We haven't received an auction date yet, but the court has approved the foreclosure. This is, the same people owned another lot on Western Avenue. So both of these parcels, we should have an auction date in the next couple of days or so. It was sent over to the sheriff recently. We just haven't heard back from them yet. But it is set for auction, and it is also on the demolition list.
Do those sell concurrently or independently of each other?
My recommendation to the sheriff is that they be sold at the same time. There will be separate, these are separate properties, so there will be separate bids, but to have it, both of them conducted at the same time.
So somebody could buy the Western Avenue, but not the Kingston property and vice versa?
Now, that was the question I was asking, yes.
Yeah, it'll be separate auctions. I believe we instructed the sheriff to do like a parcel A and parcel B type auction.
Because I could care less about 50. I want Kingston gone.
Yeah, and so, I guess the question is, do we, regardless of the auction, is the land bank able to proceed with demolition regardless of the auction? I'm not as familiar with when we get outside of the city.
Me neither.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
The
once you're out
question
in
is
the county
always
what that.
permission to enter or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I think in the city, we get demo orders, but I don't know that we have a similar thing. So if it doesn't sell twice at auction, at that point, the land bank can
Well,
step
I
in.
guarantee you, if
and
it goes to auction and I can get a hold of it, I'm buying it.
Okay.
Because I want it gone.
Yeah.
If
And
that's
to
the
do
case, it's
that-
in friendly hands and we could proceed if
Yeah.
you want us to,
But to do that, you'd have to pay off what's owed in back taxes?
Yeah, and I forget offhand what the amount.
It's less than $10,000, I think.
it's something.
Yeah.
I haven't checked it for a while, but
Sure.
there was another round that of this year that would have went on
Yeah.
last year. So it may be up to 10,000 because it was 7-something last time.
Well, and at least if you did acquire it, you would know that it's on the, you'd get a free demolition out of it because it's already on the demo list.
Okay.
Now, the alternative is if you show up and nobody else is there to bid on it, and it just goes through the land bank, you wouldn't have to buy it, and the land bank would be the first in line to get it and then demo it. And then you wouldn't be out anything.
Well,
But if it's a useful lot to you, then
It's
that's
a
different.
usable lot if it's cleaned up.
Yeah.
The house next to it the people had to put a double wide on it because it burnt their house down too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an eyesore. There's
Yeah.
dead trees laying in the backyard. One of the dead trees came down on the brand-new house that was just put in not very long ago.
Yeah.
So I'm quite certain these people would like to see it go as well.
Sounds like it. So auction coming soon, and then if there's no bids at the first one, how much time usually between that and the next time it's on?
It's about a week.
Okay, so it happens pretty quick at that point. Great.
Easy. I knew it was less than 10,000.
Well, any other new business for the group, for the order?
I wanted to ask about, there's a parcel that's behind the Lucy Webb Hayes Heritage Museum that is owned by Metropolitan Housing. And that was donated to them at zero cost. It's recently been appraised at $18,000. They came and asked us if we'd like to buy that. We said no, to donate it to the museum, but is there any way that we could have a discussion with them to donate that to the museum?
So the housing authority owns it and we would ask them to donate it to the museum? Yeah. I think that nobody has talked to the housing authority yet?
No.
Okay.
Actually, it would be donated to the commissioners since you own the Lucy Hayes house. We have been talking with the Metropolitan Housing, but they're stuck on needing to be paid for that lot.
And they got it for nothing.
Sorry, I'm on the board of the Lucy Hayes Heritage Center. The land bank already facilitated one lot there behind the Lucy house, which the commissioners now own. So that is the last parcel there that's not in either part of the Southern Park or the Lucy Hayes Heritage Center.
And the one that we did before, there's a demolition involved in that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There's like a block building back there?
A
Is that
garage.
on this parcel?
Yes. Concrete block garage.
Is there any intent on using that if you get the property? Where you take that down to?
No, it's usable and it looks like Metropolitan Housing. They've painted it, but they're also dumping rubble next to it. So it's a usable building. I've got a sketch map ideas on how to reconfigure things that would be usable. It's in decent shape. But the lot is too narrow to really practically build anything on it.
And the idea is the Lucy Webb Hayes, you want it so that you can use the block building, basically?
And have larger grounds, maybe set up a area to have interpretations and such. But again, it's like the last parcel there that's whole right along South Walnut Street that is not a part of public
Jack, I have
use.
them on schedule on June 2nd to come in.
Okay.
You want to bring it up at the next meeting? Or
To Metropolitan Housing or?
Metropolitan.
Okay, I didn't know they were coming.
You just want to follow up with the land bank, the
Yeah.
next meeting after that? Okay.
You know, we don't have any interest in that property other than forwarding it onto the Lucy Webb Hayes.
Yeah. So it sounds like the end goal is the county already owns the museum and the other lot that the land bank tore down at one time. It would just be somehow facilitate that acquisition for the county because you're going to own a cluster of those.
Right.
Okay.
You know, it's landlocked, there's no access, curb access to it, it's kind of a useless piece of property anyway.
Yeah, which makes you wonder what the housing authority thinks they can do. Okay. Any other new business?
Can I
Yeah.
ask about 85 Carlisle Place? It's on the expedited property foreclosures. We discussed it in the city nuisance abatement board meeting on last Thursday. Somebody's working on that house. I think in the last meeting we discussed it a little bit. It changed hands October 21st of '24, and somebody's been staying there.
They've been working on
Working
it
on it.
almost at least once a week.
Yeah, I pass by there, twice a day when going to work and coming home. and they're always there. I think the city was gonna look into whether or not water was connected to it, but it's on this, you know, expedited foreclosure. It is back taxes, but the taxes are so low, even though it's been so many years. It's only a couple $1,000s, but the taxes are like 120 a year.
But they should have been able to sell it without paying back taxes, right?
Well, it said, on the auditor's side, it says 0. So it went from Paul Seacrest to Charles Hedrick. So I don't know if someone just put it in somebody else's name. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I used to live across the street from
Yes.
that, and the floor slants. It's
Yeah.
gonna end up as 501 West 4th Street.
Yes.
Real soon, when it goes down the hill.
And I don't think
so-
there's a building permit for it or anything, so somebody's there. They had this, I don't know what it was. They had a tarp over it, wood, like a structure, that's gone. But they are, it's hard when you're driving. So yesterday when my husband and I were coming home, I was driving and he was looking over and he said, it looks like they're trying to maybe add on to it, or I don't know what they were doing, but they've moved a refrigerator. I don't know if they were moving it out or moving one in. It sat, and I don't think that concrete area that they're parking on is even owned by, because 85 is so narrow. I think it's the next property down owned by somebody else that they're parking on. So I was just curious.
Yeah, it's, there's no good happening.
Yeah.
Well, I know that when we started the process in the expedited foreclosure too, at that time, it was still in the Seacrest's hand, and then also we were able to get the affidavit certifying that it was vacant at that time, but it sounds like there's been some developments that we may need to revisit our strategy on that
Yeah,
one.
because I leave my house about between 7 o'clock and 7:15, and there's a little SUV, same one, parked there all the time. So I'm making the assumption that someone's maybe sleeping in there at night.
So that foreclosure was not filed, is that right?
That's
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Well, this,
Thank you.
we'll follow up on building permits, water, that sort of thing. And it's on the demo list, or it wasn't?
It's not.
Okay. Any other new business? I was gonna suggest skipping our next meeting, however, it sounds like we might have 2 properties that, we've got at least one that we might find out about this week. And then, so we might have a quick meeting in July to just discuss. Well, I guess, Gabriel, you guys would initiate a process. If it goes for the second auction, doesn't go through, you'd initiate the process. And then the land bank would probably need to act to intervene in that. Okay. So the timing of that next meeting might be relevant.
Is there any way that you can have a special vote for the one in Bourneville? I mean, the longer that's laying there, the nastier it's getting. And July is the heat of the summer.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, I think that, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you guys can just initiate that unilaterally in the treasurer's office, right, that foreclosure?
Yes.
Okay, so if you want support from the land bank, I'm happy to entertain that motion. But basically it would be just supporting your office and filing that, or however that filing happens, but it's already back taxes. We want it to be expedited, to happen quickly. And then if and when it happened, the land bank could express interest in being that first person in line. So.
We have brought him pictures of what it looks like now. He has got, you know.
I think I've seen it, yeah, driving through Bourneville,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, if you want a motion from land bank to do something with that, but otherwise I would say.
Yeah, because I believe if we elect to do the expedited foreclosure too, there is an easier mechanism for direct transfer to the land bank. And then from that point in time, then we can facilitate the transfer to the Johnsons, let them get to work on cleaning it up.
Please.
So if that's something that the land bank is comfortable with, then yeah, I'd like to see a motion and then we can get the ball rolling.
Okay, so that would be a motion to do you want a motion to request an expedited foreclosure? Or do you want a motion to accept the property after the foreclosure happens?
Motion to accept it.
Okay. Any discussion, discussion before the motion or after? So basically the process would be, if and when the expedited foreclosure goes through, and there's no bids on it or other interest in it, then the land bank would acquire it and then work with these folks to facilitate the acquisition and transfer to them.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All right, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Okay. So, what I think can happen there is we will just stay tuned in like we are on this one. And then, in the meantime, Tricia, maybe we get contact information and talk through what sort of clearing and in-kind sort of agreement might be possible. Work with you guys to figure out if that's possible, and then
Yes, we appreciate
get
it.
moving on. Okay, so Trish, do you think on, which one was the one that's going up for this week, the second time?
310 Clay.
310 Clay. And so the question there would be, I guess we could preemptively, just like we just did here for 310 Clay, preemptively say, if and when the land bank should act to acquire 310 Clay, we make a motion that it does that, then it's under our control and we can demolish or whatever else. So
It's not on the, it's not on the.
it's not on the list, we don't have a
list,
grant for it.
So we would be responsible for demoing it and just figuring out the funds to do so.
Okay. Which could be the city or it could be land bank funds, but
Yeah.
better, my thought is better we control it than nobody else. Okay. Any conversation on that before we think about the motion? So this one is a situation where the house is still standing, but it's in very bad shape. We don't, it went through auction once, no bids. Second time go through auction, prosecutor's office will initiate a process wherein the land bank could be the first person, the first entity in line to acquire it. This might be a property that could go through the rehab grant, if it could be rehabbed, or it might be something that we tear down and put the lot up for sale. So,
I would just add that the property is currently occupied.
okay.
Or at least we think it is. But it does come with a boat too, so.
Well, actually, the owner of this property threatened to come live on my property. If and when this house sells from underneath of him, he was an interesting fella. He tried to steal my stapler as well.
He's made some interesting gestures to the Google Earth car as well, if you want to look it up.
Does that give anybody pause? Maybe we don't.
And he's
Well-
squatting, we think it's the
He's
squatting.
the recorded owner.
And there's a group of his associates also in and out of this place randomly.
So,
It's a
Land bank
rough-
can't
it's
do
a rough
much
setup.
unless it's deemed vacant,
with grant money, right?
with grant money.
Yeah, with demolition grant money. It's
Yeah.
gonna- yeah. So the scenario here is basically the owner stopped paying taxes and it's also in bad shape. Okay. Do we, any idea how much there's owed on this one?
I forget offhand. I want to say it's around 16,000 with everything combined, but I need to double
Yeah,
check.
I think the taxes were about 13, but I don't know what else in terms of court costs and things like that for foreclosure. So it's
Okay.
probably about in that ballpark, and I doubt the house is worth that.
Right. Yeah, he owes more taxes than it's worth.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can, if we want to make it, I can entertain a motion to permit the land bank to acquire this property through the expedited foreclosure process when it finishes. Basically, it's a very similar motion to what the one we just did for Bourneville, if anybody wants to make the motion.
So moved.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, so, and I think this is one that we've dealt with a fair bit ourselves, through nuisance and code, so, but would clearly be an improvement to that neighborhood.
Is there similar action we need to take here for the property in Kingston, or? I understand the update.
Yeah, so
I
it is.
don't know if that is related in context to what we need to do today.
Yeah, so the difference there, I guess, potentially is, it sounds like that one might have bidders. But I guess we could do the same thing and say if there are no bidders, we'd like to acquire that one.
Okay. And that one is on the grant list.
And then I think it would make a July meeting unnecessary. That's appealing to anybody. Yeah, I think that's right. So if there's no bidders, then the land bank would be just set to accept it at the back end of a foreclosure process where there are no bidders. And then if it is acquired, potentially work with the purchaser because it's on the demo list, right?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
I've seen that property, it is a mess.
Horrendous.
Yeah,
It's been like that for 3 years plus.
yeah, at least.
Okay, so one more motion. What's that address again?
7 2nd Street,
You
Kingston.
think of the invite. All right. I have a motion on that one.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right. Hey, thinking ahead, I like this. Tricia, any reason to meet in July then?
I don't think so, unless we need to call a special meeting for something that were to come up.
Okay. So I'm going to suggest we skip the rotation and not meet again until the regular cycle, which would be September. And that would be the third Monday in September, which appears to be 15th, yeah. I already have something on my calendar. Can we look at the 22nd? Anybody mind that? Or the week previous? Either one.
Either works for me. How's the schedule?
Do you want to do 9:30 or 10 o'clock on the 22nd?
9:30 is fine. Thank you. All right, anything else for the good of the order? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Crystal?
Absolutely, yeah, we'll let the room kind of clear out and do that. I'll come to
That's
you.
Yeah, I did think it'd be a call like this.
Come to you. You're all right.
So
don't worry, we'll move it with you.
But
I'm going to suggestions to find out what the definitive date will be scheduled.
we got the ball on. We can. Okay, week, gentlemen. You too.
Keep going, like, you have to share a quick call.
So, first thing,
We've got to
Somewhere else.
What other?
Yeah.
It is a.
So we'll get that done.
Working on that.
Yeah, it is, it's very complicated.
It doesn't even seem like it's, but
There is possibility down there.
But sometimes you never know. It is a flip side.
I ain't seen one thing underneath.
That throws a wrench in the process. So even
Now,
for a while, you have-
Next one. Well, we don't need
So
any.
literally like a shack in the back, if they're sleeping under that. Okay. So that's the first two steps is to be able to start those pretty touch. And at that point in time, there's all
Yeah, I'll double check and see if there's.
So basically, the only part that's expedited is
Says the check should have been here. I hope so. It should have went out last Monday or took it.
That's kind of what
Yeah.
So try it. Yeah.
Check should have been there.
You got a step in the right direction.
Not a bad deal. Last
Like, hey, clean energy, we did solar power,
It's a shame, at one time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there are ways I'm a nervous, I don't know why.
And she's paying attention on me. You want to see the arm somewhere?
Well, somebody's got to get this guy out of trouble, right?
That's
That's probably a full-time job myself.
not as bad as his dad. His mom gets a special seat and really around.
if people are not willing to clear.
Guys, we got, keep the moving going.
We're still live.
Yes.
We're still live.
We'll get it worked on.
All right, we appreciate it.
And that way,
It's just hard enough.
Well, I think you guys need to turn this out. That's part of the issue too, is that, you know, there's a lot of this kind of stuff. You know, the one in Kingston, there's several in town. I've got someone coming into my office and threatening.
I took that day off today. We have to do
But I'm thinking.
I'm glad you guys were able to make it.
There
you go.
That was great. However, 1,300 tires where if they are professional.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See you later.
Thank you for your time. And lady.
We only had about 1,300 tires. However, if we could combine
Hey, Dave, we're probably gonna go into executive session.
Okay.
But that's not correct. That would.
I wasn't for sure.
Because the money we have right now, like I said, is holidays money that I applied for the grant.
You get them two out here.
So I think if we had,
We're gonna move on with our meeting, please.
Okay.
Get out.
Okay, I'm going to reach out to you.
Do good health, Carl.
New system of sheriff's sale is not very handy for an individual like me.
I can get up. I won't say it was confiscated.
Sarah?
Huh?
George, he can.
Well, the whole thing.
Trying to figure it out and make it work.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning. Make a motion that we go to executive session.
Do I have a second?
Or you want to get started a little early? I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's okay, so we ain't gonna have the media in here.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I'll, second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We go ahead and get started, George.
Okay.